We have a very special guest alert because on today's show, we are bringing on draft expert Damian Parson, who had Tyler Warren falling to the Chargers at 22 in his latest mock draft.
You are Locked On Chargers, your daily podcast on the Los Angeles Chargers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, man? Welcome into the Locked On Chargers podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Wade, joined as always by my co-host, David Drogemeyer. And we've been covering the Chargers now for 9 seasons together and 9 drafts together now. But this is our 7th year as the host of the Locked On Chargers podcast, bringing you your team every day. And we are fully in it. If you want to make sure you miss none of the draft coverage we have for you guys and all the special guests we are bringing on, make sure to go subscribe or follow for free on the Locked On Chargers YouTube channel and listen wherever you get your podcast from. And I'm very excited for Damian Parson, host of the Locked On NFL Draft Show, coming on the show today to talk about the Chargers, specifically him thinking that Tyler Warren, there is a chance he gets to the Chargers at 22. But even if he doesn't, he actually thinks that Colston Loveland is the better tight end in the 2025 draft class. So that's also a great option for the Chargers. But we also get into what if they go interior offensive line in round 1? Who are the home run hitting running backs that could go with Najee Harris and so much more. But take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Here he is, Damian Parson. All right, guys, you know what it is. It is draft season, so we are bringing on the draft expert that we couldn't wait to talk to. And today we have Damian Parson, host of the Locked On NFL Draft podcast, and also writes for Bleacher Report covering the draft. And we were all just talking. Me and David put the draft hats on, a month and a half, 2 months every year. Damian Parson lives it, and this is what he does. So excited to have him on the show today with a big draft coming up for the Chargers. How you doing, bro?
I'm good, man. Tired, ready for this draft cycle to come to a climax so we can see, get rid of all the speculation, see where these guys land so we can talk about landing spots, projection into their teams and stuff like that. So other than that, I'm good.
And then he turns the page to the 2026 draft because that's the life that you live, man. But I was reading through the last mock draft that you did with Bleacher Report where you guys did a what would we do mock draft. The picks that you guys were like, not necessarily what you're hearing, where you think guys are going to go, but what you would do if you were that team. And most fans, I think, would be thrilled with who you had the Chargers taking because you had them getting Tyler Warren at pick 22. Do you think there's a chance he could actually slide that far just at that position? And what did you like specifically about that fit? Because I think a lot of Chargers fans would love that if you made it there.
Yeah, I think there's a slight chance he could slip down the board simply because the rumors of a third quarterback being off the board, teams needing to address offensive line, getting 2 receivers inside the top 15, the top 20, and then these litany of edge rushers, kind of like your pick 'em in that situation. And you got interior defensive line as well. So, and then you have another tight end in the same group with him that also has a first round grade, who's actually my top tight end, Colston Loveland. So I think with Tyler Warren, and that in our what would we do, we went based off of our board. We had kind of war room discussions about it. I think Tyler Warren went a couple picks earlier than Warren. So that's why Warren was like, okay, he falls right there, right into the lap of Greg Roman. And Greg Roman's offense is I think he fits well because he fits that mold of that run after catch, big physical tight end that can, make plays at the catch point. And we know that Greg Roman loves to run the ball, but he also has always been a guy that has funneled his passing attack through the tight end in San Francisco, in Baltimore. I believe, if I remember correctly, I think he was in Buffalo at one point. But he's coached multiple, dual threat type of quarterbacks, and they're typically their go-to guy was a tight end. So it's like for me, it's like I feel like tight end. Really, if either one of these guys on the board, I think that is the pick that Jim Harbaugh is going to be 100% happy making because he gets to get kind of that missing element to this offense right now. You have Ladd McConkey, Quentin Johnston's taking some incremental steps forward, as a receiver. Getting that tight end that can own the middle of the field between the hashes will do a lot for this offense and everything. And plus, one thing about it, you have to be willing to block for Jim Harbaugh. Like you can't come in and not be a good blocker or not be a willing blocker where you can just coach up some technical aspects of your game. So Tyler Warren's willing to block. Colston Loveland, he knows Jim Harbaugh. Jim Harbaugh knows him. He knows he will block. I think tight end is really that spot for the Chargers, in my opinion, at round 1 that they should heavily be hoping slips down right to them inside the 20s.
Absolutely. And I know that Charger fans would be ecstatic for Tyler Warren. I know that they would also be ecstatic for Colston Loveland. And one of the guys we hope that, slips to the Chargers is, of course, Colston Loveland, who unfortunately went to the Broncos at pick 20 in that same kind of mock example there. Yeah. But there's been some buzz, with some teams around the league that think Loveland might actually be tight end 1 in this draft. And I believe that you are in that boat as well. What do you think makes the former Michigan Wolverine the top player at his position in this draft?
For me, it's actual passing versatility. I think we get enamored with the shiny stuff that Penn State did with Tyler Warren, the Wildcat stuff, the snapping, running the seam. And I hate to break the fans, that's not happening in the NFL. Like, none of that stuff translates to the NFL. So It's like you have to look at their offenses and extrapolate what are NFL reps. And when I look at Colston Loveland at 6'5", I think he came in taller, longer arms, and everything like that, better wingspan and reach. And to me, he's a better athlete. Like, this guy moves like a big body wide receiver. He runs routes from different alignment, whether it's man, zone, it doesn't really matter. He can get open. And for me, I always go back to this. If you take Colston Loveland out of that terrible Michigan offense from 2024 and you put him in Penn State, we're talking about him as a potential top 10 pick. You put Tyler Warren in Michigan, we're not having the same discussion about it because they couldn't get the ball to a wide open Colston Loveland. I just broke down his tape this past week on my YouTube channel, The Scouting Room. And the amount of times he is open on film and he's not getting the ball or the ball is not accurately thrown, because it's not just about target share, it's about quality of target. And the quarterback situation in Michigan was one of the worst I've seen in a power 4, power 5, like big time school. Yeah. So for me, it's like when I look at Loveland, I love Warren. I love the run after catch ability. He's really nimble. He's agile. He's got really good feel for space, to almost peripheral vision to see those incoming diverging defenders from his sides. But it's like, okay, if you think about getting into the NFL and you're dealing with Spags, you're dealing with Spags, some of these headsy defensive coordinators, that stuff at Penn State doesn't really translate that well. Yes, you can motion them, you can move them around, but at some point you're going to have to beat one-on-one in man-to-man coverage. And the type of nickel/safeties we see in the league today, like I'm watching Colston Loveland against Oregon, and he is lighting them up. No matter if they're putting a linebacker, a nickel, or a safety one-on-one, he's beating these guys. And it's like, to me, the pure pass, he's the best pure pass catcher at the tight end position. Colston Loveland, like Tyler Warren's more physical and nimble after the catch. I think you get more bang for your buck after the catch. So you got to figure out ways to get the ball to him quickly and easily. But for me, it's like, Colston Loveland, his ability to not just beat you up the seam in a foot race. He can route you. He can hit you with rocker steps like a big wide receiver. He separates. He creates that separation. And even when the ball is not accurate, he just like Warren, he can go up and make those plays. I can't remember if it was Illinois game. He had a 15 yard out route lined up as the X, and he whooped the corner, but the ball was high, and he goes up and he makes the play. Gets a foot in, gets like an inch of a toenail in, and calls us all you need. So for me, that's why. And I think I tweeted this out. There's a misnomer about Loveland as a blocker that I don't really know where it originated from, but he played with a bum shoulder all 2024. That's why he didn't do anything this draft cycle. He's been he got surgery. He's been rehabbing. But you watch on tape, he's a good combo blocker. He's a good spatial blocker. He climbs to the second level. Talking about duo climb. Kind of gallop technique, like a 6 offensive lineman that knows how to gallop into the side of that defensive end and then go get that linebacker. He can get you 2 for 1, help with the tackle, get up to that second level. This guy can block, and I think for him to do that with a bad shoulder, I can't wait to see what he looks like in the NFL. And I think he's got a frame that you can add a little bit more weight to, because he's like 245. I think you can get him to 250, add 5 pounds of muscle without sacrificing his athleticism, and you feel really good about what you have.
Yeah, I love those points, especially because I feel like I've been a little bit afraid to talk about Colston Loveland as a blocker because I've seen the rhetoric that's been put out there, and I'm like, man, I didn't think it was like that. Like, I thought he looked pretty good, especially hitting guys in space. Like, it's such an underrated part, but like his hit rate on guys in space, smaller guys, linebackers, DBs, I thought was really second to none in this class. And I think it's such a good point about Tyler Warren, where it's like probably not as many opportunities to take Justin Herbert off the field, to put the ball in the hands of Tyler Warren behind center. So I think it is easy. I mean, the dude averaged like 9 yards per carry last year. It's easy to see all the flashy stuff and be like, you know what? That guy's the best player around. And it'll be interesting to see kind of what the Brock Bowers effect of is in this draft class is, right? Because how many teams think they can find their Brock Bowers in this class that can totally kind of revolutionize their offense? But we have so much more good stuff with Damian Parson. It was great hearing his thoughts on the top tight ends in the class, but we all know the Chargers might just go trenches instead. So up next, we're going to talk about who the best fit is for the Chargers if they decide to go on the interior in round one, and more in today's Locked On Chargers podcast. This is a message from sponsor Intuit TurboTax. Taxes was waiting, wondering, and worrying if you were going to get any money back, and then waiting, wondering, and worrying some more. Now Taxes is matching with a TurboTax expert who can do your taxes as soon as today. An expert who gives you their taxes their undivided attention as they work on your return, while you get real-time updates on their progress so you can focus on your day. An expert who will find you every deduction possible and file every form, every investment, everything 100% of the time. Also, you can get the most money back guaranteed with 100% accuracy. No waiting, no wondering, no worries. Now this is Taxes. Get an expert now at TurboTax.com. Only available with TurboTax Live full service, real-time updates, only in the iOS mobile app. See guaranteed details at TurboTax.com/guarantees. Last year, while we were all caught up looking at skill position players and thinking the Chargers were going to take Malik Neighbors at number 5, the Chargers and Jim Harbaugh did maybe the most obvious Chargers Jim Harbaugh thing, and they took Joe Alt instead. And I mean, there's a good chance, well, while we talk about the Colston Lovelands and the Tyler Warrens and the Tet McMillans and all these guys, that the Chargers today, did you forget who we are? We're going to go trenches in round one because that's the kind of team that we're building. And I think it makes sense that the two guys they've been linked to at kind of, the end of round one are Gray Zabel and Tyler Booker, two of the top interior options of this class. But knowing kind of what the Jim Harbaugh, Greg Roman philosophy is, who do you like better for them if they go that route at 22?
Man, that's tough because they both have attributes that would fit well within this offensive system. Tyler Booker and his physical run blocking, moving guys off the line. Greg Roman's going to absolutely love that, especially when you think about who they just signed to play, be their RB1 for just this year, Najee Harris, getting Najee downhill, shoulder squared to the line of scrimmage and creating run lanes. But I'm gonna go Gray Zabel, and for me, it's because going into, you think about dealing with the pressure packages and different things like that. One of the big key things for me is when you have two good tackles, which the Chargers have. Yeah. When you have a guard like a Gray Zabel, I watched him down in Mobile at the Senior Bowl, and in one-on-one reps, it didn't really matter who he faced. He was pitching the shutout. This guy's footwork is laterally quick. He's clean. And to be able to play all 5 positions on the offensive line, that gives you unforeseen value. We watched the Chiefs during that playoff run. Hey, we got to put Joe Thuney at left tackle, right? Because he could do it. We watched, if you go back years ago, probably about maybe a decade, and I remember the game, actually, the Patriots facing the Giants thing during the regular season. They took their center, Brian Stork, and put him at right tackle to get out of that game because their right tackle situation wasn't healthy and it wasn't good. Having that versatility, Gray Zabel can move guys in the run game as well, but it's his upside and his ability to be a better pass protector. I want Justin Herbert to feel comfortable in that pocket, to step up, to drill these passes to Ladd, to whoever's at tight end, to Quentin Johnston. You want him to know that, hey, we got the offensive line that is going to be able to protect you, especially against the stuff you're going to deal with Spags. All the different looks, all the different slanting and rush pass and change and exchange, all that type of stuff. Free runners trying to come off the second level. Having a guy that's just better from a lateral movement standpoint, like a Gray Zabel, and he's got good strain in the upper body when he latches on. He anchors well, and he's strong. So like to watch him in Mobile one-on-one be flat out one of the best players there. And that's what Mobile is for. That's what these all-star games are for. You're a North Dakota State player. They're like, yeah, we want to see you against the big boys, against the Power 4 guys. And it really didn't matter. Like those guys had no shot with Gray Zabel. And I think he would be that type of guy, especially if they want to implement some of that zone running run scheme stuff. He can move well, L step, get to his landmarks, backside cutoffs. He's just a better athlete. While Tyler Booker, I think he's just going to come in and punch guys in the mouth, move guys off the line of scrimmage. I think either one of them would be a good fit, but for the passing attack, especially off the play action, give you some RPO stuff, I think Gray Zabel will be a better fit for Justin Herbert.
Well, especially because he also has the potential center flex down the road. Because me and David know we want to see that next Corey Linsley. We want to see the long-term option where Booker's probably not going to be your long-term center. You could use Gray Zabel at left guard this year if that's your biggest need, and then eventually transition him to the interior. Because, David, the interior is what killed them against the Texans, and they really need help on both sides of the ball, David, as you know.
They really do, and I want a commander in the middle of that offensive line to be able to really set the tone and really complement and help the guards on both sides of him. He's got a big mountain. Whoever is going to play center has got a mountain on the right side. Got two mountains with Joe Alt and Mekhi Becton.
Yeah,
I just want somebody in the middle to help really direct traffic, if you will. But one of the biggest needs the Chargers have heading into the draft is an outside receiver, and that can complement their budding superstar, Ladd McConkey, who primarily plays out of the slot. There's a good chance that the Chargers don't take a receiver on day one, so who are some of your favorite day two receivers the teams should be targeting?
Jalen Royals from Utah State, 6 foot 205. He's got the speed to win vertically. He's got the strength. Watching him in Mobile, you could tell he wasn't 100% healthy because he got, I think it was like week 6 or 7 during the season. He ended up having a foot injury or an ankle injury that cost him the rest of the regular season for Utah State. So he wasn't 100% healthy, but guys had a tough time trying to like press him at the line of scrimmage in one-on-ones. He has he's kind of has that Deebo Samuel running back type of build, big thighs, strong upper body, but he's very detailed in terms of it's not a lot of foot fire, a lot of dancing at the line of scrimmage. It's what I call no nonsense. He would one-step jab, get inside, win his leverage, win the leverage battle, and then break at the top of his routes. But when you put on the tape at Utah State, he did basically everything. He played the slot, he played the Z, he played the X. He was really good after the catch. A guy that has spatial awareness, a guy that can make guys miss one-on-one with the safety. Because I can't remember which game it might have been. It might have been the Boise State game where he had a safety one-on-one after he caught a slant, and then he gave him a nice little 1-2, made the guy fall, took it up the field, and scored like a 60, 70-yard touchdown. This is a guy that has good hands. He makes those type of catches that you want. And again, with his ability to play all three positions, high football IQ, with anytime you can play multiple positions as a receiver, it shows that, hey, I know all the assignments inside this offense, and that projects well to the league. So that's one guy I really like a lot. Of course, if you're – especially from a speed standpoint. You think about Isaiah Bond, you could probably get him third roundish. Maybe. We'll see, because teams love speed. 5'11", 180. I think he ran faster at his pro day because he ran fast at the combine, but he ran even faster at his pro day, sub 4.4, everything. This guy has the speed to take the top off the defense. He's explosive, but also similar to Ladd, a guy that you can move around, get the ball to in space. He can make guys miss. He's very sudden. He's twitchy. And after the catch is where he can really make you pay, because like a lot of the schemed up touches, like putting him as like that movement Z receiver. Him and Ladd can be interchangeable. Especially if Quentin Johnson really irons out some of the drop issues that's plagued them since coming into the league, and he takes control of that X big body receiver spot, then you could have a Ladd and a Isaiah Bond, both of those guys moving around inside that offense, where it's just really kind of hard, especially, coming into year 2 for Ladd, he's going to see a lot more defensive coverage. You're going to see defenses are going to gear up to slow him down. Having a guy that, okay, if you end up running some type of bracket to try and stop our slot, now I got a guy that I motion out like a Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle type of speed and body type and movement patterns where I can kind of pre-snap motion him, give him a free release up the field, and really take it the distance and really exploit single coverage. A guy I like a lot, and I think that his stock should be on the rise, is Kyle Williams from Washington State. Another guy that really good route runner, good release package, tracks the ball well, sees it well, but also has the speed to win those foot races down the field. I believe he's a 4.41 at the combine. Guy has good speed down the field. He also can move around and be interchangeable in this offense. And there's one guy, actually, for the pod today, I actually did. I kicked off the show with him. Dante Thornton Jr. from Tennessee, 6'5", 205, 4.3 flat in the 40.
Wow.
Tennessee, he was their big playmaker. They didn't throw the ball to him all the time and just pepper him with targets. But when they needed to go deep and take the top off, it was him every time. But not only that, he's more. I gotta have a top of the 4th round grade on him because he's still a little unrefined for how that Tennessee offense, very gimmicky, weird alignments, super wide, stretched out horizontally, and things of that nature. They don't ask you to do a whole lot. But I think this is a guy that, to me, I think he first of all, I think Harbaugh will love him because he's a block first guy. On the perimeter, he blocks his butt off. So it's like you watch him when the run game's called, he goes and picks off those corners and he seals those guys. You see him, it's physical. It's a want-to thing for him. He doesn't mind. He actually likes it. And you could tell on tape that he likes to get his hands dirty. And I think a guy like that, man, you get him with the right quarterback, the right offensive coordinator, the right wide receiver coach, you have a potential gem in this young man because he's like a little rough around the edges in terms of route running in certain aspects. But, and I said at the top of the show, he is what we hoped Quentin Johnson was going to be. Because coming out of TCU before the combine, we all thought Quentin Johnson was 6'5". We thought he would run 4.3, right? He ended up running closer to 4, I think 4.48, 4.49, somewhere in there, 4.5. He came in at 6'2", 6'3". So this guy's a legit 6'5". He's a legit 4.3 athlete who has the ball skills and body control. And I think to be able to take the top off the defense, I think he would be a great fit. Like I said, a little bit later in the draft, you can address some other needs, especially losing Josh Palmer to Buffalo. You need to improve the depth at the receiver spot. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised, truthfully. Ideally, if I'm the Chargers, I want to get a tight end in round 1 and then be able to snag this young man in round 4 or 5. And then now you have your tight end that can help take pressure off those other guys. And then you have that developmental, like big body, vertical threat at wide receiver.
We still have more to get to with Damian Parson, including who some home run threats are in the running back room that could potentially fit with Najee Harris, a little smash and dash, and more on today's Locked On Chargers podcast. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track, and that's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start just building your wealth. And it's so much more than just seeing how much your wife is spending on Amazon packages every month. The great thing about it is it's so easy for both of us to use. It's very collaborative. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever, and you can track your shared personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. And when you start using Monarch, one of the things now that I'm kind of in month 2.5 of Monarch, I'm kind of finally starting to see more and more of how useful it is. But just having those checklists and finding numbers where it's like, I can beat that. Even with my child's first birthday, I can get that number a little bit lower. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off of your first year. One, I think that fits their timeline. I'm glad you put him on our radar because he wasn't on my radar. And I think especially when you sign a guy like Mike Williams, who they did, right, to a 1-year deal, maybe that lets a 4th-round pick like that develop at the right rate, and you have that big X receiver going forward, and you don't necessarily need him to be that guy this year, but you also got a premium weapon in the first round where you feel like we upgraded our weapons. We have guys other than Ladd McConkey that people have to worry about right now, because at the end of the day, they lost that Texans game for 2 reasons. They didn't have the weapons to match up with the Derek Stingley's and that secondary that they had, and the interior of the offensive line got wrecked. And sometimes it's as simple as that, and those are 2 ways they have to address it and have to get better in the upcoming draft. But we talked about a little bit about Najee Harris, and I think that really fits the Jim Harbaugh mold. It is only a 1-year deal, and the Chargers can kind of go one of 2 ways with it, right? They could find the next Najee Harris and find a long-term dude who could do what Najee Harris does and go maybe Marion Hampton or something like that who feels kind of tailor-made for this Chargers offense. The other thing they could do is they could try to find the Jahmyr Gibbs light, right? That's what everyone wants to do. Everyone wants their David Montgomery and their Jahmyr Gibbs, but there is a non-zero chance that the Chargers look for that home run hitter a little later in the draft instead of maybe taking a running back in round 1. Who are the home run hitters at running back that you think might pair well with a Najee Harris if they want someone with a little more juice?
Man, I think you look at Bashul Tootin out of Virginia Tech, 5'9", 206. He ran the 4.32 at the combine with a 1.49 10-yard split. He's a just explosive dude altogether. 40.5-inch vert with a 10-10 broad. And when you watch the tape, that speed translates. Like sometimes you see guys running fast 40 because they've been working with a track coach training for the combine. You look at their tape and you're like, you don't move that fast on film. But this guy is a absolute home run hitter. Inside zone, stretch zone. Like he's got good vision. He's a one-cut guy. Nice, that shorter, stout, boxier, densely build type of running back who can get north and south quick. He finishes runs with physicality, but if you seal it up, like they all used to say on the old ESPN shows with Jaws and all of them, you get a seal, you get an alley. He's one of those guys that from a defensive standpoint, you don't want him to see that alley because he has that speed that can burn you and get through that second level. He can go from 0 to 60 very quickly. Another guy that I really like, and I think he especially now, granted, like Najee's only on a 1-year deal. This was like a 2-year deal, maybe 3-year deal would be a little different. But Jaden Blue out of Texas, another explosive, speedy running back, but also he kind of almost similar body types. He's a little bit lighter, a little bit slimmer than Gibbs, but the explosiveness, the speed is there for him. And then he's a really good receiver out of the backfield. Like that guy you can use as a matchup. He ran a 4.38 at the combine. I believe he ran faster as well, closer to 4.3 flat, I think at his pro day. Like, yeah, he's got home run speed, but then that ability to motion him out, get him matched up on a linebacker, and he runs routes. He tracks the ball well down the field. He catches the ball well out in space and everything. And you turn on that Clemson game in the playoff, and I think he had like 1 or 2 like home run like plays in that game that really just like changed. There was one point I think Clemson got it close and they just needed to stop. And Jaden Blue was like, absolutely not. Like we're going to the next round. And when he closed, he kind of iced it out later in that game. Like this dude he's one of my favorite mid-round running backs that change a pace guy that can do similar things to what we see with Gibbs. I think, you want to kind of wonder like, okay, can we bulk you up a little bit to be more physical between the tackles? Because we've seen that step forward with Gibbs physically between the tackles where he finishes runs, his contact balance is better, but everything else is still the same. He's explosive, he's scary, he can beat you in the passing game. Jaden Blue is a guy that would pair very well with what Najee's going to bring to be that hammer. And now we had to change the pace and bring that lightning to this offense. I think him, Bashul Tootin, and then Brashard Smith, 5'9", 194. He ran a 4.39 at the combine. He's a converted wide receiver to running back. So this is a guy that also can absolutely run routes because he's done it full time before in his career, in his football career. You go back to the Senior Bowl, like, it was really unfair because it's like these are linebackers who have clearly 30, 40 pounds on them, but they had nobody to cover them. Like there was literally no one that could run with them, that could move with them. And when he sets guys up, it's very much like a receiver mindset out of the backfield. And that's just a very dangerous thing. And again, similar thing, sub 4.4 speed that can take it the distance if he gets some space, but he also has enough wiggle to create a little bit for himself and make guys miss.
It feels like there is kind of whatever you want to get out of the running back position in this class, you can find something that fits the style of what you're looking for. So, I mean, if they want to get a dynamic home run threat next to Najee Harris and add some juice to an offense that kind of needs it from a team speed perspective, those guys are out there. And special thank you to Damian Parson. I know you might be wondering, oh man, well, I felt like we were just getting started. That's because we were. We still have more with Damian Parson, especially talking about the defensive side of the ball, some defensive tackle options for the Chargers in round 1 and why he's higher on Walter Nolan than maybe he is Michigan darling Kenneth Grant, because maybe he doesn't have that pass rush upside that we were talking about a little bit. But we have so much great stuff that we're going to bring back on tomorrow. Part 2 of the Damian Parson interview, where we'll get into the defensive side, talk about some of the deeper positions in the draft, talk about the spots where maybe positions they should absolutely stay away from in this draft class, and so much more. But thank you to the everydayers out there for making us your first listen. If you need a second listen, check out the Locked On NFL Draft, where you can hear Damian Parson every day of the week breaking down this draft as it gets a little bit closer. And make sure you guys are back here tomorrow for us, where you can find us on YouTube, wherever you get your podcast from. Make sure you're following and subscribing there, and following us on all of our social media so you never miss the show. You can find us on Twitter at LockedOnLAC, Instagram at Locked On Chargers, and our Locked On Chargers Facebook page. And you can also, with buy or sell coming up, Female Friday coming up, call into the voicemail line at 323-524-7924 and give us your 30-second Chargers question or buy or sell on there. And we love hearing from you guys. But make sure you're back here tomorrow. Trey Lance, all of a sudden, gotta talk about some Trey Lance. Gotta get to part 2 of this Locked On NFL Draft, Locked On Chargers crossover episode. Get a little deeper into this upcoming 2025 draft class. But until then, guys, take it easy and go Bolts.